use the side aisle. Families in the front. I'm sorry, sir. I'm not allowed to let you in.
On you guys.
How are you, right, man?
Good. How are you doing?
Doing well. If you could please use the side aisle, you can get to the family in the front. If you could please use the side aisle and get to the family in the front. If you could please use the side aisle and get to the family in the front. We brought down whites and blue on. Just take it. If you could please use a side aisle, you can get down to the family in the front.
So you can stand unless you're more comfortable sitting. Good. So that's good. Judy just taught us the first rule. You only stand when it's comfortable and safe and you feel secure. We stand for certain prayers and certain activities as a sign of respect, but also as a way of showing that we're present. But in a better, deeper sense, we're all supposed to be upright in character. So when it comes to a point in this service or any service where you are expected to stand, to be upright in the British usage, and your legs or your back or your hips or your knees or whatever doesn't let you be physically upright, focus on the inside. Try to see ways in which we can all be spiritually upright. We're here to say goodbye to a really special man who is always upright. In any way you take that word. And we begin our service with a rather private gesture. And that is the gesture of tearing a garment, or more commonly in our time, a symbolic garment. To remind us that the fabric of our life was torn. To express what we're feeling inside on the outside. This is an exceedingly ancient custom, probably predates Abraham and Sarah. This sense to show, to express how we feel in a physical way. It is difficult to say goodbye to someone we love. It is difficult to acknowledge that this fabric of our life is torn. It is difficult to open our heart so that the spirit of a loved one can enter and remain there with us as long as we need it. It's a difficult thing to do, but it's a good thing to do, an important thing to do. And it opens us up to the sense that life continues. That in a minute, Stuart and Judy will tear their ribbon, open their heart, and their father's spirit will enter and join with their mothers, and they'll carry it. They'll never be far away. They'll always be close. And sometime in the future, someone else will be opening up their clothes, their hearts for us, and our spirits will join them. So we know that at least in this world, there is continuity of spirit, of memory, of love, of hope, and of blessing. So I'm going to ask you to recite a blessing on the ability to accept your dad's spirit. So we say, Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, Dayan ha'emet. We bless you, or praise you, or honor you, dear God, sovereign of all there is, the one who adjudicates our destiny. And then we say, Adonai natan v'Adonai lakach, Yehi Shem Adonai mevorach. The good God gives, the beloved God takes. Blessed be the name of God. Which means that we praise God not only for beginnings, but not only for endings. But today we're praising God for 99 and a half years of a wonderful life, a wonderful gift to all of us. Your father, grandfather, great-grandfather, dear friend, Bill. So let us tear the ribbon. And Allison can help you. And you'll be wearing this ribbon as a sign of mourning for the next 30 days, if you wish, except on Shabbat, where there's no public mourning on Shabbat. So thank you very much. Please be seated. Which means for you who are not seated, you can relax a little bit.
Ladies and gentlemen, as we begin our services, we ask that you kindly turn off all cell phones or electronic devices, or please place them on silent. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone.
My name's Louis Aron, and I'm the Rabbi Emeritus of Lionsgate. And I had the honor of knowing Bill and Bernice I think ever since they first arrived at Lionsgate. I remember when they walked in and they were walking together, holding hands. They liked to do that. Sometimes they snuck it so you couldn't really see. And Bill was carrying this lucite cane with jelly beans in it. And he said, "We're B&B." That's how he introduced himself. Now, it took me a while to realize that B was for Bill and B was for Bernice, so I just think they were both B's. But it was embarrassing getting it wrong a couple times, but I finally figured it out. Sometime after a couple of years, Judy, your dad, came up to me and said, "I really would like you to do my funeral." And I said, "Thank you, but I'm really busy right now, so could you put it off, please?" And thank God he did. And he and Bernice had many years together, making a really important contribution to the life of Lionsgate and so much of the community. Their love of people, their generosity of spirit, their willingness to participate in everything, to lead, to be present in a warm and caring manner, I think touched everyone's life. And there are many people who cannot be here, whose lives were enriched, at least during the time that I knew them, by your parents, Stuart and Judy. So I'd like to begin with a poem by Linda Paston. It's a memorial for parents. She wrote, "Move to the front of the line," a voice says, and suddenly, there is nobody left standing between you and the world to take the first blows on their shoulders. This is the place in books when part one ends and part two begins. And there is no part three. The slate is white, not clean, but like a canvas, painted over in white so that a whole new landscape must be started, bits of the old still showing underneath, whose colors sadness lends to a certain hour of the evening. Now, the light of light at the horizon is the hinge between earth and heaven, only visible a few moments as the sun drops into its rusted padlock into place. When we think of those we love, we often think about their absence. But when we remember someone like your parents, both your dad, who we're saying goodbye to today, and your mom, whom we said goodbye to a couple of years ago, we remember that there's something that we can never lose. The Hebrew Israeli poet Rachel caught this in a poem she entitled My Day. Hem bilvad no truly. Rak vehem bilvad. Lo ni'at samavet sakino hachad. They alone are left me, and only I with them. There is nothing left for death's sharp blade to cut. At the bend of the road, at the end of the day, they silently surround me, quietly guide me. For us, the promise is true. A knot that cannot unravel, only what is lost to me can I hold forever. Baritem lanu, kasher lo nifrad, rak asher avad li, kan kinyani le'ad. So we're saying goodbye to Bill. 99 and a half years. Father of Judy and Ken, of Stuart and Cheryl. Grandchildren, Danielle, Greg, Rebecca, Andrew, Jason and Jen, Kayla and Brock. Great-grandchildren, Tommy, Emma, Piper, Tucker, Bradley, Braden, Brooklyn, Aiden, Cody. Hope I didn't miss anyone. If I did, I'm sorry. Bill was the youngest of a family. Bill and Bernice grew up, I guess, together. I looked up their address this morning on Google Maps because I wanted to see where they came from. It's lovely. So I was able to zoom right in and found that intersection on 51st Street near Utica and Remsen. I knew it, but just to see it was just, and there were the houses there. Maybe they're the same houses. So, when I think of Bill, I'll call him Bill, you may call him something else. Dad, something else. I'm from that. What?
His name is B-Pop.
B-Pop. That's right. It always reminded me of some type of Korean entree.
B&B.
B&B, for sure.
B&B, besides being Bernice and Bill, was Bubby and B-Pop.
Oh, thank you. I hope you heard that. So Judy just informed me B&B was not only for Bernice and Bill, it was for Bubby and B-Pop. And B-Pop was, I guess, one of the grandchildren's way of saying Grandpa. And it stuck. But he was a good bit. What characterized Bill for me was his lev, his neshama. He had a good heart. And I'd like to share a reading that's really important to me, and something that I put in the prayer book I wrote for Lionsgate about a good heart. So a teaching from Pirkei Avot, somewhat expanded. Once Rabbi Yochanan ben Zakkai instructed his 5 disciples to go out into the world to discover what is the best quality a person can possess. After traveling through the world, they returned to their teacher with their answers. The first disciple, Rabbi Eliezer, said, I have traveled from town to town and from city to city, and in all my travels I have found that the best people have an ayin tov, a good eye. They look favorably upon other people in all things. They express an attitude of acceptance and benevolence towards others. The second disciple, Rabbi Yehoshua, said, in the course of my travels, I found that it is not good to be alone. People need other people. And it is important to have good friends and companions. Therefore, I believe that the best quality after which we should strive is to be a chaver tov, a good friend to all. Well, Bill had an ayin tov. I can't imagine him saying anything not nice about anyone. I mean, he may have, didn't tell me. But always there was that sense of acceptance, of interest in other people. And surely they knew it wasn't good to be alone. They always had people around. Judy, you told me yesterday about how your house was all full of people and full of stuff, and your mother loved to entertain, and she had a secret recipe that always worked.
Lots of secret recipes.
Lots of reasons that always worked. There was always a sense of being welcome, and even how you were welcome at their workplace. You could always find candy. So there was sweetness all around. The third disciple, Rabbi Yossi, said, I did not need to travel far to learn that the most important thing that we can be is a shochen tov, a good neighbor. We need to live in peace with our neighbors, help them in their time of need, generously share our blessings with them, and together build a feeling of shalom, of peace, in the towns and communities in which we live our lives. Everyone from Lionsgate, from our administrators to our staff to our residents, can say, B&B, they were good neighbors. The fourth disciple, Rabbi Shimon, said, in my journeys I discovered the best people are those who are ro'et et hanolad, those who consider consequences. They look before they leap. They may consider judgments. One can trust their choices because they have thought about the ultimate results of their decisions. Bill did lots of fun things. And I think, Ken, you're going to be mentioning some in your words. But there was a sense that I had that you could sort of trust what he was saying. You could trust that it would come out okay. You could trust that he thought about what was important for him. And you can trust what he was saying to you. Finally, the last disciple, Rabbi Elazar spoke. He said, I have journeyed into my soul. And I discovered that the best quality any person can have is that of a lev tov, a good heart. But before he could finish speaking, Rabban Yochanan interrupted and declared, of all these answers, I prefer the words of Rabbi Elazar. Because having a lev tov, a good heart, means having all these qualities in one soul. I think that was Bill. He was truly a man with a lev tov. And our livavot, our hearts, have been enriched by the goodness of his. Davening mincha. Kfar dir megalet zayin hasod. Davening mincha, the sunset prayer. I'll let you into a secret about how one should pray the sunset prayer. It's a juicy bit of praying, like strolling on the grass. Nobody's chasing you. Nobody hurries you. You walk towards your Creator with gifts in pure, empty hands. The words are golden. Their meaning is transparent. It is as though you're saying them for the very first time. If you don't catch on that you should feel a little elevated, you're not praying the sunset prayer. The tune is sheer simplicity. You're just lending a helping hand to the sinking day. It's a heavy responsibility. You take a created day and you slip it into the archive of life, where all our lived out days are lying together. The day is departing with a quiet kiss. It lies open at your feet while you stand saying the blessings. You can't create anything yourself, but you can lead the day to its end and see the smile of its going down. See how whole it all is. Not diminished for a second. How you age with the days that keep dawning. And how you bring your lived out day as a gift to eternity. And today we think about how we are the recipients of Bill's gifts. How his life has strengthened ours, enriched ours, fulfilled ours, and made us feel loved. Adonai Adam v'tedaheu b'nin nosh v'tachashvehu Adam lehevel damav v'yamav kitzel over. Dear God, what are we that you have regard for us? Who are we that you are mindful of us? We are like a breath, our days are as a passing shadow. We come and go like grass, which in the morning shoots up renewed, and in the evening fades and withers. You cause us to return to dust, saying, Return, O mortal creatures. Would that we be wise, that we understood where we are going. For when we die, we carry nothing away. Our glory does not accompany us. Mark the wholehearted, and behold the upright, for they shall have shalom, fullness, completeness, wholeness, meaning, peace. Dear God, you redeem the souls of your servants, and no one who trusts in you shall be alone. Many of the Psalms praise the righteous man, the righteous woman, the righteous human being. My favorite is Psalm 1. And I think it applies here very much to your parents. Ashra ish lo halak b'tzel rashaim u'v'derech hatayim lo amad u'b'moshav leitzim lo yashav. Happy is the one who rejects the advice of the wicked, who does not follow the examples of sinners, who does not join in the company of scoffers, but rather finds delight in the eternal law, studying it day and night. This one is like a tree planted by streams of water, a tree that bears fruit in due season and whose leaves never fade. This one prospers in all this one does. It's not so with the wicked. They're like the chaff blown away by the wind. Therefore, the case of the wicked will not withstand judgment, and the sinful ones will not remain part of the community of the righteous. The Blessed One appreciates the way of the righteous, but the way of the wicked shall be lost. I think that Bill liked being Jewish. That was really important. He liked being members of a synagogue. I wouldn't say that he was strictly observant in an orthodox sense, but he liked tradition. He liked our music. He liked our food. He liked our food. He enjoyed Yiddish. And I think rejoiced in the values of the Jewish tradition and the Jewish people. A senior colleague of mine, now long gone, Rabbi Eli Pilchik, wrote, "To be a Jew is to imbue life's every turn with moral concern. To be a Jew is to review society's way, lest it go astray. To be a Jew is to construe the universe whole with a cosmic goal, yea, a divine soul." B&B were concerned about the world. They were concerned about its health. They were concerned about the environment. They were concerned about creating a just and fair and equitable society. And they saw something precious and sacred and elevating in the world around them, the world that we share. Well, I've talked a lot, and I'll probably talk a little bit more. But I'd like to invite now Ken to come up and share some words about his father-in-law on behalf of B&B's entire family. So, please, be a little careful, it's a ramp.
You cheated, you looked at my speech.
What?
You cheated, you looked at my speech.
I didn't want to repeat anything.
Today, we're celebrating the life of Bill Saslow, a.k.a. Dad, a.k.a. Beepa. I think he cherished Beepa the most. That title was bestowed upon him by his first grandchild. He was the youngest of three siblings, the only one to be made in the USA, and as his family had come from Ukraine. He grew up in Brooklyn, later served as an airplane mechanic in the Navy during the Korean War. He returned to Brooklyn, and he married his childhood sweetheart, who grew up next door to him. We all know they had a long, loving relationship that the rest of us can only envy. I mentioned that he was an airplane mechanic. This is where Bill met his second love, flying. There are numerous tales of his flights. He took Judy up on a plane with dual controls. On landing, Judy slammed on her brake. For those of you that don't know, the brake on the Cessnas is the rudder. The plane veered off the runway into a grassy field, and on stopping, Beepa calmly turned to Judy and said, "Don't tell Mom." There are some things that are scarier than crashing. Another time, we went flying with a friend, Paul. Paul noticed the smoky smell in the cockpit, but kept quiet. He's unsure what to say. Beepa, he only said, "Oh, I have to go back. I forgot something." And on landing, he turned to Paul and said, "You smelled something, didn't you?" He said, "Yeah." And Beepa never said anything to Paul while they were flying because they didn't want to alarm him at the time. He loved photography. He always carried a camera with him just in case there was a shot worth taking, like burning building in New York City, or took stages of the construction of the Verrazano Bridge. He even took pictures of New York City while flying over the Hudson River. He took over his father's hat company and became infatuated with hats. He collected hats from all over the world. English bobby hat, a jester hat, sombreros, even had an Indian headdress. The latter he often wore at Thanksgiving when he wasn't wearing a turkey hat. He was also called Mr. Gadget. He's that type of guy. When needed something, he always able to reach in and take out a tool, whatever tool is needed for the job. His favorites were multitask tools, such as a Leatherman, a Swiss Army knife. He loved watches. And if you showed him your watch, he would ask you, does it have a toilet? Then he would add, use it in good health. To the end of his life, he was on the internet via the computer, or his multiple iPads, his iPods. He was always into the gadgets and always in the future. Outwardly, one might think at first that he was introverted, but once he let you in, you can actually realize he's very outgoing. He worked with kids in elementary school, even teaching a Turkish boy English. At Lionsgate, he taught canasta, and actually, he and Bubby taught Judy and myself canasta. We were up at Kutcher's while the kids were in day camp. He would have after dinner, he would play after dinner Rubby Cube with his dinner companions. Many people often ask how you live a long, healthy life. Here are some of his secrets, so take notes. Eat fish at least 6 days a week. At dinner, there's salmon, branzino, flounder, tilapia, pike. It doesn't matter which. You can always make up for it by having herring, whitefish, and lox at breakfast. Number 2, peanut butter. Goes with everything. You can put it on, you have a bagel and lox, it's peanut butter. Pizza, peanut butter. Salami sandwich, peanut butter. Andy actually picked up on this in school and had peanut butter and salami sandwiches as well, to his friend's dismay, I can imagine. There is no such thing as a pepper that is too hot. Ghost peppers, he just munched down on nothing. There was no hot pepper for him. You should have an omelet with lox and raw onions every Thursday for dinner. The onions came in handy because this is a way to live longer. If the angel of death should ever come, you wake up and say, "Who is it?" And this worked for a while. And even in the hospital, he asked for extra onions just in case. He was active in the drama club, also known as the Spielers, as was Bernice. And he sang in his baritone voice. He loved dogs. He always carried extra biscuits in case he ran into one of his furry friends. And they knew it. They always would come up and sniff at him. Of all his endeavors and facets, the activity he loved the most was being Beepaw, which, as we mentioned, was the infant translation of Grandpa. He adored his children, his grandchildren, multiple great-grandchildren. 99 and a half years was not just time passed, but all the real living that he did. His departure will leave a hole that we can't fill. But he left behind us memories that filled us and that are forever. We thank him for that.
So that was a secret message, and the secret message is that Becca is going to say something,
And Danny.
and Danny, which is even better. Great. There's nothing more beautiful than hearing words from about a person from people who love them from the best. So go to it. I have a full day, so please share.
Three of us wrote something together, and we're going to share a couple of fond memories that maybe a couple of repeats, but hope you enjoy it. So Danny was the first grandchild and the one to coin the name Beepa, which was coined as his name for grandfather by every grandchild, and even people outside the family knew him as such. Beepa, my grandmother Bernice, aka Bern, aka Bubby, would pick us up from school on Fridays for a matinee and a Chick-fil-A ice cream cone. Some Fridays they took us roller skating, and Beepa would skate in the rink with us while Bubby watched us from a table with our snacks. When we had sleepovers at their house in Homestead, we would join Bubby in the morning for a snuggle in bed, only if we didn't wake the wolf, until Bubby let us know it was the right moment. At which point, we would push and roll Beepa out of bed, and he would growl loudly at us, stomping his feet, and eventually make us all breakfast. Beepa was always in charge of hiding the Passover afikomen, and we never caught him in the act, which is wild because one of his hiding spots was taped to Andy's back. And of course, he paid out regardless if we found it, in the form of a crisp $2 bill. Beepa loved playing games, and he would crush us at them, although none of his wins were credible after we caught him cheating at Mishmash multiple times. We have a lot of food associations with Beepa too. The first thing I ever learned to make was an egg salad sandwich. He pre-boiled the eggs, and it always had to be on a potato bun, otherwise it was trash. Beepa loved egg salad, and he also had a famous Beepa potato salad. One time, he didn't have potatoes, so he made it with cucumbers, and somehow no one noticed. Bubby always had Beepa on a diet, so naturally we would sabotage it by sneaking in his favorite snacks like Yorks or Mounds bars. So we would pass them to him when Bubby wasn't looking. Other times we would plant them around a desk where he did work at our parents' house. There were even times that he would lean over with his mouth open for scraps. If you ask Beepa, he invented peanut butter ice cream, one of many peanut butter-based creations besides peanut butter oatmeal, peanut butter on pizza, salami and peanut butter sandwiches, whitefish and peanut butter on a bagel, and more. He was always deliberate and meticulous in his attire. He never owned a pair of jeans on principle. His regular attire was a plaid button-down with a proper pen in his pocket, suspenders, dress pants, a man purse, as he called it, and, of course, a newsboy cap. Like his chic fashion sense, Beepa was trendy in his technology. He always wanted to see the features of our new gadgets, forever asking, does it have a toilet? He would even teach my mom what he learned, like how to burn CDs. On his first Zoom call, he signed in with a virtual background of outer space. He never went anywhere without a camera, shared his love of photography and photo gadgets with me as I got older. One of his latest endeavors in taking photographs was taking selfies, like Ellen, he said. Beepa took the liberty of introducing Danny to a new website he found called Amazon. Another time, he explained, Bern, I have my own Amazon account, which she needed to buy a Labrador t-shirt for my dad. He used streaming services and loved binging Netflix, his words. He always wanted to learn something new and would ask questions like, how do you tap into someone's phone lines? And enjoyed trying microbrews. Here are a few favorite Beepa coin phrases that we loved hearing. I got a throughsy, which he said every time he found a parking spot to drive through so he was facing out. What are you, a wise guy? I'll drink to that. Hey, gorgeous. He always insisted that Bubby never would lend him $1. Bubby insisted that she did in fact lend him $1. I guess we'll never know the truth. Like us, Bipa loved dogs, and all the dogs that he met learned that he always carried treats in his pocket so they would get excited every time he visited. Nor our family dog even recognized his car and jumped on the hood looking for Bipa when he was parked in the garage. As you can tell, Bipa demonstrated that we should never take ourselves too seriously. He was always up for a good time and let things slide off his back. He never dwelled on problems, and he lived in the present. Bipa provided a model for us on how to enjoy life to the fullest, and though he is gone, the memories still make us smile and even laugh. We will always cherish the experiences we shared with him, and he will be in our hearts and minds for the rest of our lives. Bipa, we love and miss you.
Wow. That's a beautiful tribute. And I can imagine B&D listening to all that was said. And I can imagine your Bipa turning to Bernice and saying, well, what bird, well, how would it go? What bird, and now I do to that, what do we think?
Yes.
That's exactly.
That's exactly.
Well, Bird, what do we think? And I think that they would only feel pride and love, feel very cherished and very honored that they were able to create such a beautiful family, such a beautiful friendship circle, and such a beautiful world for those whom they love. So one more poem and then a concluding prayer, and then we move on to the next stage of the day. So, William Bill Saslow loved lots of things, but he did love Yiddish. He loved languages, liked Spanish, knew some Russian, and he studied French. We have this French teacher here. And I remember the French class, Bernice had a better accent. Bill was much more creative in his vocabulary. If he didn't know the French word, he might use the Spanish word or the Yiddish word, just to give what he thought was a French accent. Thought it would work. At least in the Lionsgate community, they all understood it. Said, well, I didn't know the Yiddish sounded so much like French. But here's a short poem about the values expressed in a lot of Yiddish phrases. And I think in some way it captures at least the general sense of the way Bill looked at the world. When I was a boy and fancy-free, my folks had no fine clothes for me. All I got was words. Gott zu danken. Thank God. So wir leben und sein gesund. We should live and be well. When I was want to travel far, they didn't provide me with a car. All I got was words. Geh gesund, go in health. Geh pamala, go slowly. Hop a glückliche Reise, have a good trip. I wanted to increase my knowledge, but they couldn't send me to college. All I got was words. Hab sechel, have common sense. Sei nicht kein Narr, don't be a fool. Teure is der beste Sechoira. Torah is the best merchandise. The years have flown, the world has turned, things I've forgotten, things I've learned, yet I remember. Zog dem emes, tell the truth. Give tzedakah, be charitable. Hab rachmanis, have compassion. Sei a mensch, be a mensch, be a full human being. As we've heard today, William Bill Saslow, Bipa, he was a mensch. He was a full, complete human being. So, a couple more things. In a minute, we'll recite the memorial prayer, El Malei Rachamim, in which we ask God to gather Bill's soul and cherish that soul among the souls of all good, righteous, wonderful human beings, those who enlighten the world. And then we will escort the casket, here covered by a flag in honor of his Navy service, out of this room, and we will continue with the interment service at the Brigadier General William C. Doyle Veterans Memorial Cemetery in Armytown. This evening there will be a Shiva service at Judy and Ken's house. That's 508 Gatewood Road in Cherry Hill. You get there around 7 o'clock. I'll make sure that everyone's in place for the service, which will start shortly thereafter, around 7:30. There'll be another service at the same time, the same place on Saturday. Continue talking about Bill and Bernice and all they meant for you this afternoon at the Shiva. Saturday. Hopefully you guys will all get together for Thanksgiving and Hanukkah. That's a good time to keep talking. Wear the turkey hat if you have it. So just keep the stories going. You have lots and lots of great-grandchildren. You want to make sure that they know your BPOP as well as you do. So the only way of doing it is, there are two ways. One, that is for your parents, that is for Judy and Ken and Stuart and Cheryl to start acting more like D&D. I'm sure they do enough already. And for you to keep telling those stories, those beautiful stories that you shared with us. And then it will work. And your grandparents will never be far away. So this is another time to sit up straight or stand up straight, whichever is most safe and comfortable as we recite the El Malei Rachamim. El Malei Rachamim Shelchein Bamromim Hametzem Yuchad Echonat Tachat Kanfei Shechina B'ma'alot Kodeshim U'toharim K'zor Harakia Masirim Et Nishmat Velvel Ben Raphael Miriam Shahalach La'olamo Ba'avur Sh'adrut Tzedakah Ba'ad Hazkarat Nishmato B'gan Eden Tiyeh Menuchato Ana Bal Harachamim Hasdiregu V'Setek Kenafek L'Olamim Utzor B'Tzor Achayim Et Nishmato Adonai Hu Nachlato V'Yanor V'Shalom Al Mishkavo V'Nomar Amen. May the source of life and the fountain of being open our hearts to compassion, our eyes to wisdom, that we may glimpse in perfect peace and sadness the way of all things. May the memory of Velvel Ben Raphael Ben Miriam, William Bill Biba Saslow be for us a blessing. May we never let the light of Bill's love grow dim in our hearts. May we remember all of Bill's worthy and righteous deeds, so that Bill's memory be forever bound up in the bond of life. God is our source and God our destination. God is our beginning and God is our end. May Bill's death awaken us to this truth, that the bond of love we shared and share be not shattered in sorrow. May Bill rest in peace in our hearts forever. And let us say, Amen. Please be seated. Once again, well done. What do we do? Amen.
Well, Will the pallbearers please step to the center aisle? I'll ask you to rise once more, please. Mizmor David. Adonai Rohi Yom Atzar, Vino Dashi Yorah Senyo, maybe you'll call you not Haleni. Nafshi Yisovei, Nafheni B'maglei Zerek L'ma'an Shamo. The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside the still waters. He restores my soul. He guides me in straight paths for his name's sake. Yea, though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil, for thou art with me. Thy rod and thy staff, they comfort me. Thou preparest a table before me in the presence of mine enemies. Thou hast anointed my head with oil, my cup runneth over. Folks in this room have your heart, please. Those who are in the family will have that one. Folks in this room, please have your heart.
I wish they were doing it at my church back in the day. Because everything's not upgrading.
Thank you.
Sorry to hear that.
Yeah,
Yeah, but still.
Thank you for giving me good material, that's all I can say.